won't sing it. But so we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Leslie Matthews. I am the training manager here at the California Student Aid Commission. And we are really excited. The summit has been really going well today. I hope everybody has heard some really exciting things, some a lot of positivity we've seen in those, a lot of optimism. And so it's been a really good day, I think. So I will start it off. I hope everyone can hear me. And if you can, we'll do a quick little icebreaker. And let me know so far what has been your favorite part of today's. Oh, I think Michael asked that, but I'll ask in here. What's been your favorite part of today's summit? Don't be shy. Put it in the chat. I think somebody's okay. All of it has been great. I agree. Being in community, excellent. Yeah, the student voices were amazing. Loved it. Loved Dr. Cardoza's story. So it's just been really, really great. And one of the panelists talked about the Great Migration. My grandparents did that too from the South. So it was, yeah, a lot of things that we could all relate to. So today we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, thank you for coming to Mythbusters. Next slide, Yvonne. And I have told you our beautiful panelists, and here we are all in our glasses. Sarah Beth, you don't have your glasses on in the picture. You messed us up. I don't either though. So next slide. So today's agenda, not long, but we're going to talk about a lot of the myths associated with financial aid. We're going to talk about the myths on applying for financial aid. And at the end, we're going to have a Q&A session for our panelists. So our first speaker today is Yvonne Hollingsworth, and I'm going to go ahead and get her going.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here and for inviting us to this panel. We're excited to be here. So today's session is the various myths that we all hear about financial aid. We hear from our students about various myths and misconceptions. So we are here to dispel those myths and misconceptions. So starting right off the bat with myth number one. My parents or I make too much money. This is often something we hear from our students. And what I always say is, do not disqualify yourself. You don't know if you're going to get any type of aid. And as you can see on the slide, almost 80% of people do receive some type of aid, whether it's a grant, a scholarship, even a loan is considered a type of financial aid. So our message to our students and families is not to disqualify themselves. They don't know that, excuse me, they don't know that they're going to qualify or not, but they definitely won't get anything if they don't at least apply. One thing I hear from families also is that they're not going to apply because they assume that they'll make too much money to qualify for a Cal Grant. But since the advent of middle class scholarship, that has been the answer to a lot of middle class income families. So don't let your students disqualify themselves. There is aid out there. The next myth, I won't qualify, so why should I even bother? Well, like I said just moments ago, it's not a guarantee that a student or a family is going to qualify for aid because many of the grants and various types of financial aid that students apply for are need-based. So if a family makes a lot of money, there is no guarantee that they're going to receive any financial aid, but it is guaranteed that they won't receive anything unless they apply. So the message is still the same. Don't let our students disqualify themselves. And we can see in the second paragraph here that students might not receive a lot of financial aid at the school that they're closest to, the school that they intend to apply to, which is why we suggest that students list multiple colleges on those financial aid applications, because if you've listened through these other sessions, you've heard how very different some of the award packages can be from college to college. What one school offers may be vastly different from what the next school will offer. So please encourage students to list multiple colleges on their financial aid applications. And then our next myth, I won't qualify for any grants. So keep in mind that these applications are going to let students know if they're eligible for things other than just grants. So as you can see on the slide here, students who are eligible to file a FAFSA are going to be tapped into potentially federal aid in the forms of these types of programs that you see in red on the slide, state aid with California, as well as campus aid over here in purple. And then our DREAM Act applicants are eligible for all those same types of aid with the exception of federal aid, right? Our DREAM Act applicants are not US citizens yet, and so they would be eligible for the California state aid and campus aid. But there is a lot of aid out there, and so many students leave a lot of money on the table. So we don't want to see that. Even if you are a student yourself and are applying for either the FAFSA or the DREAM Act application, in addition, if you still need other money, there's other aid that might require an additional application, such as for scholarships. And we'll talk about those in this presentation as well. And here is just basically a picture image or a visual image of what we just talked about on the last slide. So we can see here that a student starts out with whatever their financial situation is. They may make a lot of money, they may not. And then they apply. They report all that information on that financial aid application, right? FAFSA and DREAM Act application. Both ask the students and student contributors, if that student is a dependent student, about their financial picture. How much money is in their checking and savings account? How much money have they earned? And so those questions will be answered on that financial aid application. And then that calculation to derive the SAI, Student Aid Index, right? And most of us here probably know that an additional calculation that comes from this application is the cost, the unmet need, right? So it's the cost of attendance at a college minus the student's aid index that results in the unmet need. So those figures are used to determine eligibility for federal and or state and campus aid. So once again, our FAFSA filers can potentially receive federal, state, and campus aid through just one application. And our DREAM Act applicants can receive California state aid and campus aid from those colleges that they're attending here in California. So again, lots of money out there, but students will not know if they have any of this money until and unless they apply. And then what about this one? So students often think that there are all kinds of different programs that require multiple applications. And in some cases, that's true. But the bulk of these types of aid that we just saw on that previous slide, federal, state, and campus aid, is done through one application. So there is not a separate application for the Cal Grant and the middle class scholarship. It's one application, either the FAFSA or the DREAM Act application, whichever one that student is eligible to file. There are those other programs, specialized programs like the Chafee Grant for our foster youth, or the DREAM Act Service Incentive Grant that do require separate applications. So in order to maximize a student's eligibility for all types of aid, if they are eligible for the Chafee Grant for foster youth, for example, we definitely want to encourage them to apply for that as well. And then you can see down below here that a GPA is a component of the Cal Grant, right? And for our high school students, those GPAs are being sent by the high schools. Even community colleges send GPA. So we already have that data to determine if a student is GPA eligible. But even more than GPA, most grants are need-based. So students have to have and prove that they have sufficient unmet financial need. All right, I'm going to turn this over to Linda for the next slides.
Okay. Like my dress there? I love dresses. Okay, how many have heard I need a perfect grade to get financial aid? I mean, we all have goals and we wish that for ourselves and for our students, but life gets in the way and it doesn't always happen. But it really is a myth because not every scholarship, which is what I'm going to be talking about here, requires that you have perfect GPAs. They expect oops, and we adjust for them. So all our scholarships can be merit, they can be based on your grades, or they can be need based. It could be any number of things: blue eyes, brown hair, um, you know, I don't know, octopus arms. It could be anything that that our students could qualify without having to have a perfect grade. So the myth is only students with good grades qualify for aid, but reality is that meaning what we call SAP, or satisfactory academic progress, is important to keep for financial aid, but it's not, you don't always need a perfect GPA. So keep that in mind. What I hear students and parents actually in many of our outreach, next slide, thank you, talk about uh, I can't find scholarships that meet either my academic goals or something else that I've worked in as a volunteer in the community. And the cool thing about this presentation, which you guys will get, is that they've done the work for you. We're about to provide you with a whole host of things that you can put on your own website, have been vetted. But finding scholarships is relatively easy. You could look at some pretty obscure spots to find scholarship opportunities. And as we've indicated here, the multiples of scholarship do stack up. Sometimes it's the fail or success is because you don't have the money for one book. And a scholarship, a small scholarship, can provide that. So the fact is, small dollar scholarships add up, and students should not overlook small dollar scholarships of any kind. The extra effort put into applying for scholarships can be applied in multiple places. One good essay is all you need to apply for multiple scholarships in multiple spots. Next slide. These are beautiful spots in which to find scholarships. In fact, they're search engines is what they are. So you can put in all kinds of things about yourself. My favorite, of course, is the Duck Brand Stuck on Prom scholarship. I personally received a scholarship for creating a prom dress out of various colors of duct tape many years ago, believe it or not. And it was called the Duct Tape Ball. But it got me through a semester of books. It was great. So the websites that you see here, like I said, they're all searchable. They've been vetted to make sure that they're not fake. And when you receive your PowerPoint presentations, you're going to want to put these, for those of you who are here on schools, you're going to want to put these on your websites to help your students. And for those who are in here looking for scholarships, these are great spots. Next slide. The additional sites that you see here are just a few ideas that you can search on, but I literally have many on our websites that for our Native American students, for our Wanadi students, for our Asian American students. There are literally scholarships for just about anything that you can think of. And really, when I said blue eyes, blonde hair, there is scholarships for that as well. It's really kind of funny, but you can find the most obscure things that will help you or your families or your school along. And then when I was first in university, I went to school for free. That was one of the perks of coming to school or coming to work in higher ed. So I was able to get my first 2 degrees using that tool. You can too if you decide you want to work in some higher ed spots. But maybe your parents is working where there is a tuition reimbursement of some sort. Maybe you pay for something up front and you get reimbursed at the end. You know, it could be many different things. So I would encourage you to look high and low for scholarships to help you through higher ed. Next slide. This one took me forever to understand when I first returned back to California about the Cal Grant and at a community college. You know what, we hear so often about students who want to put their Cal Grants reserve, when in fact doing so and earning units can hurt them. So I personally don't know of anybody or any schools who do this, but I have heard that this might happen. So we all have lifetimes, all students have lifetime Cal Grant eligibility, but it's your education level that will determine how long you get to keep that eligibility. So if you're marching time and receiving units at a community college, then you're actually wasting some Cal Grant opportunity right there. So if you're going to transfer from a community college with either 2 years and you're entering into your university as a junior, you have only 2 years of eligibility remaining, even though you might have thought you put something in reserve, for the first 2 years. So do not spend it, I guess I should say. Even if maybe you don't use it, take it, bank it for when you get to university. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. I don't know if Linda mentioned where she's from, but she is from Sierra College here in Sacramento.
Thank you.
So next we have Margaret Mann, who is going to give a little brief introduction of herself, and then she's going to continue on with the presentation.
All right, I'm Margaret Mann. I am the acting manager of student financial services over at Santa Rosa Junior College, and I have been doing financial aid workshops since Cash for College began, one of the original RCOs. So let's get started talking about the FAFSA isn't free. Okay, well, that's the myth. We know that the FAFSA is the free, and I do mean free, application for federal student aid. You don't have to pay for this. So the official website is now studentaid.gov. If you do FAFSA.gov, it will take you to the FAFSA part of the FAFSA of the studentaid.gov website. If anyone is asking you for money, you are in the wrong spot. So don't do that. And of course, the California Dream Act application, I call it the CADA, is also free. So CSAC's not going to charge you anything. You shouldn't pay anything to apply for financial aid. End of story. Period. Done. The CADA is only for undocumented students. Well, actually, the California Dream Act application is filled out by a wide variety of students. It's undocumented students, it's for qualified immigrants, it's for students that are of mixed status backgrounds who may not feel comfortable in our current political climate applying for federal aid. So again, undocumented students, DACA recipients, whether they're VOWed or expired, if you've got a U visa, temporary protected status, and of course, our mixed status folks who are feeling more comfortable filling out that California Dream Act application instead of the FAFSA. Next slide. Oh, this one. Have anybody heard this one? I haven't applied to college yet. Oh my gosh, I get this so much. I'm at a jillion of these Cash for College nights, and I have people saying, I haven't applied to college yet. That's okay. You can do it at any order. There's no wrong way to do it. You can fill out your FAFSA or CADA first, or you can do your application for admission. I always tell people, list all the schools you plan to attend, list your first 20. And of course, if that's not enough, you can always go back and change things up. So definitely make sure to know that you can add schools later on. I have a lot of students who don't know what school they're going to go to. I say add your local community college first, and then you can always go and add other schools if you have no idea. This one. This is not one of my favorites, but it's real. I'm betting you guys have heard this. The FAFSA is too hard and it takes too long. Well, you haven't applied lately if that's what you're thinking, because it sure is fast now. Most folks take 15 to 30 minutes. And I have so many people that say, is that it? No, really, is that it? That's it. It really is a lot better. Yeah, they've made a lot of improvement. Students do need their account. The FSA, they do need their own account. Their parents need their account. That's the longest part of the whole dang thing. Yep, and that's your studentaid.gov account, your FSA ID. That's yours for life. Cool thing is now you can use that same night you created. Oh my gosh, that was such a big barrier. So now that is resolved. Woot. Next slide, please. Oh, this one. FAFSA told me I only qualify for loans, or I'm not going to qualify for anything. How many people have heard this one? Probably you've heard that, but actually, The FAFSA is just the application for federal student aid. It's the school who's going to do the awarding. So the school is going to be the one who tells the student about their federal aid, their state aid, and their campus aid. And some people are really lucky and they work for colleges that have a lot of resources. So it's really amazing. You've got to apply to qualify. That's my line. I use it all the time. You can steal it, but you do need to apply so that you can be considered for everything. And then you can go through and compare your award notifications from multiple schools and make the educated decision between your heart and your wallet. Next slide, please. All right, I don't need an FSA ID. My mom has one. I've heard this before. Absolutely. Anybody else heard this? Yeah, no, it's not one per family. It's one per human. Yeah. Yeah. So the student needs one and at least one contributor needs one. So everyone needs their own FSA ID, their own studentaid.gov account. It sticks around. It's with you for life. If you forget it, it's really not that big a deal to retrieve it. You've got to use your own email address. Don't have anybody else create your account for you. I was at a Cash for College night not long ago, and I had parents who were sure they had never applied for financially. They had never created an account. I know in the depths of my soul, somebody else created an account for them. I'm betting they had another child. I know. I don't know, but I know. You know what I mean? So make sure you do it yourself because this is about you. It's your information. It's confidential. It's personal. You're supposed to do your part. Everybody does their own part. Yep. Um, next slide, please. All right, I shouldn't have to provide parent information. This is the one I get the most working at a community college. I have a lot of students that are living on their own, they're doing their own thing, they're paying their own bills, and they think they should be considered independent for the purposes of financial aid. Well, most of them really need their parents' information. They don't get to choose whether they're independent or dependent. There's personal circumstances questions that are going to figure out whether or not a student is considered dependent or independent. So we've got to go through. There is a possibility for if the parent refuses, then the student can apply for unsubsidized student loans only. That's really not a good idea. Whenever I'm helping students with financial aid applications, if they're saying that my parent doesn't want to help apply for financial aid, it's almost always about concern around immigration, around privacy, or around paying. And once they know that I haven't heard of any immigration consequences for applying for FAFSA. I know that's controversial, but I haven't heard of any. If anyone's heard of any, please let me know because I want to make sure I'm advising students accurately. I know the information is secure, and parents now get to enter all their own stuff, so we're nice and safe. Yep. So again, we're going to move on to the next slide. All right, so many students, they have to provide parent information. If you're under 24 and, and you're on your own, you file your taxes, their parents don't claim them as dependents, even if their parent lives in another state. I have this happen all the time, but my parents in Florida. I've been on my own for 2 years. It doesn't matter. Yep, they're, paying your own bills. If their parents live in another country, ooh, I've had to clean that mess up more than once. Yeah, you've definitely got to make sure if you answer those personal dependence questions and all the answers are no, then parent information is required, unless, of course, there is an unusual circumstance. So sometimes it's not safe or wise for the student to be in contact with that parent. Know that there's a way that schools can help, but this is a conversation you're going to want to have away from the public. Yep. Oh, this happens a lot too. So I live with my grandpa, so he should fill out the FAFSA. No, no. The parents are considered biological or step. So basically, yeah, it needs to be your parent, your biological parent or adopted parent. Yep. No legal guardians, no foster parents, no siblings, no aunts, no uncles, no grandparents. No. Sometimes when students are living with grandparents, there are unusual circumstances. These usually merit conversations that should be taken away from a group. Yeah. But if they can reach their folks and it's safe for them to do it, yeah, parent information is required on that application. All right, definitely. And that again, if they have zero contact with their parents, then they're going to say yes to unusual circumstances, whether they're filling out the FAFSA or the CADA, they're going to be working with their school, and their school is going to be real careful to talk with them privately and gather the appropriate documentation to have that student be considered independent. And the good news is that this can be renewed very easily from 1 year to the next. All righty, and only mom needs an FSA ID. Well, actually, which parent needs an FSA ID depends upon the marital status and how they file their taxes. So if the parents are married and they file taxes together and it's the same set of parents, and I know that sounds silly, then yeah, only one is needed. But if they're filing separately for any reason, both parents need an FSA ID. If the parents are divorced, then it's going to be the parent that's provided most financial support who is going to be the one who needs that FSA ID. And of course, if they're remarried, then that step parent income needs to be reported on that FAFSA. And if they file jointly with that person for that tax year, then cool, only one needs it. But if not, both do. All right. And then my parent is not a US citizen, so I don't
Margaret,
I think I'm overrunning my time. My
I'm
apologies.
gonna jump in. This one's mine.
Don't let me steal your thunder.
No, you're totally fine, Margaret.
It's time
Thanks
for
so
Sarah
much.
Beth. No, it doesn't get any better.
Oh God. Good afternoon, everyone. My first name is Sarah Beth. I work for the California Student Aid Commission. I'm the Outreach and Marketing Coordinator here, and I'm so grateful to the panelists who've joined us today. I'm going to close us out, and then we're going to have a Q&A session. So if you've got questions, think about those questions. You can drop them in the chat or in the Q&A box down below, and we'll handle those after these last few slides. So I do get this question a lot on social media where I spend a lot of time for the commission, and also when I work with students at Cash for College, which is my parents not a US citizen, so I don't qualify for financial aid. And what I want to let you know is actually FAFSA eligibility is based on the individual who's applying and not the status, not the immigration status of their parents or their spouse. And so as long as the student who is applying for aid has either documented status in the United States as a green card holder or as a US citizen, or if they have refugee or asylum status in the United States, then that student is eligible to complete the FAFSA. The parents do not have to be US citizens. Now, a student may also qualify for the California DREAM Act application, even if their parents are not citizens. The California DREAM Act application, of course, we talked about is for undocumented students and qualified immigrants, but also students who have an undocumented parent. I want to let you know that parents who do not have a social security number can still get an account on studentaid.gov. But there is this old trick floating around in institutional memory of financial aid coordinators, which is to enter 9 zeros for the social security number. We don't want to do that. That used to be the case several years ago, and that has gone away. So when a parent who does not have a social security number signs up for a studentaid.gov account, there will be a box that says, I do not have a social security number. And that's what they should check rather than entering 9 zeros. Can I get the next slide? Oh, this one's a big one. I already did FAFSA Arcata. I don't have to do that again. I already applied for financial aid. Whoops. No, you do have to apply for financial aid every year for the academic year you plan to be in school. So right now, students are filling out the 26-27 FAFSA. That FAFSA covers the 26-27 academic year. So that's the fall of 2026 and the winter and spring of 2027. You have to file every single year you plan to be in school. So high school seniors file for their frosh year of college, frosh file for their sophomore year of college, sophomores file for their junior year of college, and juniors file for their senior year of college. Now, if you're a college senior and you're not planning to go to graduate school, you're going into the workforce, then you don't file for the following year because you won't be in college anymore. Can I get the next slide? Ooh, yeah, I hear this one a lot too. I never get any money from financial aid, so I would just won't apply. And what I want to let you know to share with your students is actually things change from year to year. A student's financial situation could have changed, eligibility for programs could have changed, different programs may be available. The student may have transferred between schools, which could affect their financial aid eligibility. There's all sorts of different factors that go into it. And because applying for financial aid is free, we want to make sure that they apply every time. Margaret had a fun phrase for it earlier. I have a different, close to it cousin phrase, which is when in doubt, fill FAFSA or CADA out. And it rhymes, so it's fun to say. But we want to make sure students are filling out FAFSA or CADA regardless of if they think that they will get any money. 80% of students do receive some form of aid. And for students who are applying for private scholarships or additional campus aid, oftentimes FAFSA or CADA are required to receive private scholarships or other campus aid outside of the stuff we talked about before, like a scholarship directly from the college, or maybe an academic, or maybe an athletic scholarship. FAFSA or CADA may still be required for that. So when in doubt, fill them out. Let's get the next slide. Okay, I want to get you telephone assistance in many languages. Did we have the special circumstances slide? Somewhere? Is it after this slide? No, I'm going to talk about special circumstances, even though it's not on the slide, and then I'm going to talk about the slide. Special circumstances is a process where the college can change the financial aid package if the financial situation has changed. So maybe the family in 2024 had a certain income, but now somebody lost their job, or there was a death in the family, or there was a birth in the family, or maybe the family was affected by the Pasadena or Altadena fires, or maybe the family was affected by some other natural disaster, or maybe there's a brand new medical expense in the family, or maybe there's a brand new childcare expense in the family. In any of those situations, the family can apply for special circumstances directly at the college the student attends. And the college is empowered to make changes to the financial aid award package based on those special circumstances. So that's a process of appealing for more financial aid. That's the special circumstances process. It's different than unusual circumstances. We talked about unusual circumstances earlier today. Unusual circumstances is about dependency status. Is the student independent or are they dependent? Special circumstances is about the money. Did the money change in the family somehow that means their aid package needs to be revisited? So that's special circumstances. Sorry, we don't have that slide for you. But we'll make sure we put it in before we send out the slide deck. The telephone assistance that we've got here on the screen, this is ways to contact FAFSA or to contact the California Student Aid Commission. FAFSA is run by the Office of Federal Student Aid, and this is their phone number and the ways to contact them, including to get access to help in additional languages. So if you have families who need help, and they have like 60 languages available at FAFSA, they do need to call this separate number in order to get access to language support. So that's going to be a resource you're going to want to have written down. And then for the California DREAM Act application, that's California's application. That's our application here that CSAC owns and operates top to bottom. And so you would be calling us, the California Student Aid Commission. This is our phone number and our call center. We also have language support in 70 languages. You just need to call and get through to an agent to ask for the language that you need. Now, if you are a financial aid professional, we also have school support, and that's going to be on the final slide. Let's look at the last slide. So we've put school support's information on this slide for you. School support is there to help financial aid professionals, counselors, people who work at schools, at colleges, or at high schools to be able to advocate for their students and to get information about what's going on with their students' aid packages. So the students would contact student support, and the counselors can contact school support. So we've left both of those pieces of information for you. And then also the training team, that's Leslie's team. Leslie and Yvonne are on the training team here at CSAC. Their information is on here as well in case you have questions later. But at this point, I'm going to pass it back to Leslie.
Thank you, Sarah Beth, and thank you to all of the panelists. You all did a fantastic job. And there are quite a lot of myths, but I think we tried to get the main ones covered. I'm sure there's more. And if anyone has any that they'd like to talk about or that anything they'd like to ask questions about, now is the time. So we will open things up now for Q&A. And if you want to ask a question, we can unmute you at this time. Anna, would you like us to unmute you to ask your question?
Yes, my question is, I saw in the chats that there was a question about when parents have not filed their taxes as of yet. It has been suggested to wait until they file their taxes and then complete it. But how does that affect the student in terms of first come, first serve on some of those grants that are based off of when their application is applied?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and jump in on that. If the parent hasn't filed 2024 taxes yet, then because the 26-27 application will ask for 2024 taxes. If the parent hasn't filed 2024 taxes yet, then that's a pretty specific circumstance. 2025 taxes are not needed for another year. 2024 taxes, if they know what the information is going to be, they can choose to do direct data exchange, knowing that it will fail, and input that information manually into the system, knowing that manual entry is a higher barrier for verification, which means that if you do manual entry, it's more likely that the student will be selected for verification by the college. It's not a guarantee, but manual entry is one of those things that they weigh higher when they're determining verification. And then the family can file taxes. And so that would be the best advice that I would have, but I'm curious if other folks on the panel have additional things that they want to add to that.
I'll add to it. So sometimes they don't really know what their income is, and so they estimate, and it's not accurate, and then they go back and correct it once they've filed, which of course does mean they're more likely for us to ask for income information to verify their information, but also they might be planning where they're going to go based upon aid that they're not going to receive. So the information is accurate if it comes from the IRS. It's not accurate necessarily. It could be if you manually key it in. So it definitely could be, but I strongly encourage that family. Usually there's concern about, what they owe and being able to make payments. I strongly recommend that they get tax filing assistance. Often people qualify to get free tax filing assistance. So check that out and see if you can get that free tax filing assistance and then work with the IRS if payments are required. Some people actually get money back when they think they're going to owe. So it's good news for them. But also it results in more accurate aid packages and students receive their funds faster.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
Leslie, there's this question in the Q&A. Do you want to read it out? It's a little bit long.
Oh, okay. Let's see. So it says there are a group of students that they have studied for 3 or more years in California with a non-immigrant visa. They have legal status, but no social security number. They are not immigrants, not citizens, neither permanent residents. Could they apply for financial aid? There are several students in this situation who want to continue their studies, but the costs are very high for this community since tuition will be charged at international student rates. Is there any way to support them? Who could I contact for more information? How can I support all of them because they are like no voice? And then that's from Anna. I see Alexia's hand raised. Do you have a question or did you want to speak to Anna's question?
Separate question. So if you guys want to speak to Anna's question prior, feel free.
Okay, okay.
We do something here at Sierra that I don't know if it's unique or not, but for those who are unable to fill out a CADA or a FAFSA, but a CADA, we have chosen to use our Prop 20 funds, which are the lottery dollars that come to all of our community colleges. And we use those to at least purchase books and supplies for a student who might need assistance in this area. We also offer emergency aid to students. And when we offer emergency aid, we usually require that they fill out a FAFSA or CADA, which some might feel that they're not income eligible, by the way, but we require this to make sure that we have a little bit of need remaining because most of it's need-based. But we will forego them completing an application that they can't complete and typically provide some sort of emergency aid as well. I would imagine that's pretty common at schools at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so that's probably, probably take it up with the school's financial aid office and see if there's ways that they can be helped in that in those situations. I'm gonna go to Alexia and then we'll go to Natalie. We have about 4 minutes.
Okay, since we're doing financial aid scenarios, a student had came to one of my colleagues and said their dad is head of household, mom is a dependent, mom does not work nor files taxes, but is claimed by dad. So kind of who would be contributor and would mom have to be on the application?
Yeah, in a case where dad files head of household, mom has to be a contributor and mom has to be on the application. Mom needs a separate FSA ID, a separate studentaid.gov account, and mom files. So each parent will file a portion of FAFSA separately with their own financial information. So dad will report the things he reports on taxes, and mom will report no income, but mom still has to go through direct data exchange on FAFSA. And so she has to consent to direct data exchange, even though it will fail. Then when it fails and it asks for her to report her income manually, she can report 0 if that's the accurate income. But mom does have to have a separate account.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
And I was wrong. We have till 3:30. Sorry. I think it was, I don't see either hand raised anymore. It was Natalia?
Yeah, it was me.
Okay.
Sorry, it was about the question before, so I that's why I lowered my hand, but I
Okay.
already put it in the chat. It's like since this session is about Mythbusters, it is actually a myth that non-immigrant students pay out of state international tuition, so it's very important to check. So I put the CSU link, for example, in the chat. So it's not because they are on a non-immigrant visa that they are paying out of state. So just because those are two different things. I know we're talking here about FAFSA, so no, to my knowledge, and you know better than me, they cannot do the FAFSA, but they're not paying international tuition, which is a huge difference in California and many states. So that's just what I wanted to point out.
Thank you. Thank you, Natalie.
Yeah, I'm going to
Am I
piggyback
saying
on
your name
Natalie.
correctly? Is it Natalie?
Yeah, the H is silent. Yeah, sorry,
Okay.
I'm French. We don't pronounce H.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to piggyback on what Natalie said. So this group of students, Anna, is looking for AB 540 status. They're looking for in-state tuition status based on the fact that they've been in California and studied here for at least 3 years. And so I put the link to Immigrants Rising's in-state tuition tool in the chat under the question that you asked there. That's a tool that can help students get in-state tuition. So that student can qualify for that. Now, if that student lives in California and qualifies for AB 540, they can also fill out the California DREAM Act application. But since this is a complex question, I'm also going to put the email addresses that are on the slide so that you can contact one of us to follow up.
Thank you, Sarah Beth. Any more questions? This looks like we have more in there. Any more questions? comments?
I have a question.
Okay.
So I'm not very familiar. I'm not part of the financial aid world, but I do help students as much as I possibly can when they are doing FAFSA. So I have encountered situations where maybe parent, and I heard you all say it, fails something, so they have to manually input information. Why does somebody fail, or is there a way of being able to determine if they are going to fail because, it sounds like if they have no income coming in?
So what I was talking about there, Raquel, is direct data exchange. When you complete the FAFSA, the federal application, there is a new law in the past few years that says that you have to consent to letting the Department of Education talk to the IRS and pull your tax information in. What happens is that high school students have to consent to that. And so the high school student will fail because most high school students didn't file taxes 2 years ago. And an undocumented parent who is filling out FAFSA for their student, that undocumented parent will fail direct data exchange because that system doesn't work yet. Even for people who have ITINs who file taxes, it will still fail. It gives them a yellow box that says data not received. And in addition to that, parents who, like the situation that I think you asked about, or maybe it was Alexia, parent is a head of household and the second parent doesn't file taxes. So if the parent didn't file taxes at all for whatever reason, whether it's a head of household situation or the parent doesn't have taxable income, maybe they're on Social Security or veterans pension, which isn't taxable, if the parent didn't file taxes at all, they will also fail direct data exchange. But failing direct data exchange does not mean that the student cannot receive financial aid. What it does mean is that the parent has to input income manually to be able to proceed with the application, even if that income is zero. I'm curious to other folks want to jump in on that. That was something I was saying. So.
I've seen that too. And I also saw when I know that there was a student that indicated that they had filed taxes when they hadn't, that had failed direct data exchange as well. And I think that speaks to a comment that Alexia had in the chat, which is that she noticed sometimes when you select something and go back and change the answer, then the application will be flagged, so they have to manually enter. So I'm not sure if that is exactly what's going on, but I know that for that student, they had never, that they had reported something that was incorrect. So I think you couldn't retrieve the data if it wasn't right.
Was that helpful, Raquel? That answer your question?
Yes, very much. And also one of the comments about that they could have been a victim of identity theft maybe in the past, and so they're flagged. I didn't think about that.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions?
I had a question. I was under the impression after participating in several FAFSA workshops that only if parents filed together, then only one parent would have to provide a FSA ID. Is that correct? Yes, so that's separate from what we're talking about regarding the parent not contributing any or working, basically, correct?
Yeah, that's separate. It's if it's a parent filing jointly, only one parent
Okay.
is required. You're
I
correct.
guess that's why I was confused on that other part. Thank you.
Yvonne, would you be willing to go back to the slide that covers that?
Sorry, my
You're fine.
computer glitched, so I probably missed that.
You're here to learn. We're here to help. Nobody's worried.
Is this the slide you're referring to, Sarah Beth?
Yeah, I don't know which one of
Okay.
us covered it, but Yvonne, do you want to go through it?
Sure, yeah. So just like the slide says, if parents are married and filing jointly, only one parent needs to be the contributor. So one parent will obtain that FSA ID and report it on behalf of both parents to the
Okay.
on the FAFSA. Now, if those parents are living together and filing separately, they're both going to need to get that FSA ID. So we still need information from both parents that are living together and filing separately. So they're both going to need to create that FSA ID. If the parents are divorced, it's going to be just one parent that provides that information and sets up that FSA ID, and that's the parent that provided the greatest financial support in the previous 12 months. And as that last bullet says, if that parent has remarried, the step parent will, even if the step parent has not officially adopted that student, the step parent's income also needs to be reported. And so if that step parent is married filing jointly with the parent, then again, just the primary parent would set up the FSA ID.
Okay. Yeah, I understood that part. I just got confused with the FSA ID part and the filing of the taxes as well.
Yeah, and the Alexia's situation was a head of household, which isn't exactly covered on this slide. But when parents are married, but the parent files head of household,
No.
then that means the second parent doesn't have tax information on file. And so it's like the parents filed separately.
I see. Okay, got it. Thank you.
No problem.
Hi, I had a question. So, I'm not sure if it was mentioned or if it'll be covered in a different session, but I had a student interested in the Golden State Grant, and I don't know if you guys, or maybe refer me to a resource that can answer that, if it's closed or any updates.
I'll jump in. The Golden State Teacher Grant, I'm actually going to go to our CSAC website, and you can go there as well if you go to financial aid programs at csac.ca.gov. You can see the Golden State Teacher Grant there, and I'm going to double check the application open date. So I want to say that there is the 26, 27, see, of the cohort 3 is open for new applicants at this time, and that would be for, is that 25, 26 or 26, 27?
I think it's 25, 26, but I kind of want to talk to somebody who works on that program.
Yeah,
who's
that's a
not
specialized program. Perhaps we can reach out to Brianna and get that information. Was that the Stephania who asked that question?
Yes, I work for Cal State San Bernardino at the Undocumented Student Success Center.
Okay, perfect. While we're sort of working behind the scenes here, maybe one of us can type a question to our specialized the person who leads the program, which is, her name is Brianna.
Yeah, I just sent a message.
Thank you.
And just for clarity, you just wanted to know the opening date for the application?
Yes, the opening date, and I think I was a little confused because I did see cohort open, but I wasn't sure what that meant.
Okay.
And then the deadline. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, there's different codes. Okay, while we're doing that, if
Leslie,
there's
I'm happy to jump in. The application is open, so the legislature required us to make several changes and to operate in 3 different cohorts. The state funded it by $50 million, but it is open. And in fact, we are currently looking for many more Californians who want to become teachers. We'll put out a whole new calling in January, but please send over your students. We are currently looking for more applicants right now. So if you know a teacher or someone that volunteers at a K through 12 site and their pupil personnel services, meaning like a classified employee, they would qualify. The only people that don't qualify, unfortunately, because of the state law, are those teacher interns, because they're receiving other aid somewhere else as a part of the state law. But we want to maximize this program. So if you have a student, share your contact info. We want to help. We want to connect the student with that Golden State Teacher Grant.
And I also dropped the Golden State teachers direct email into the chat. So you can also contact that team directly with for more information about that program, or you can contact us at the email addresses that are on the title or the closing.
Thank you, Sarah Beth and Dr. Gonzalez. So yeah, I did get a response to, and yes, it's open for 25, 26, not for 26. There's no open date for that one yet. So thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we ended almost on perfect timing, and it's 3:26. So
Wait, I see one more question. I see one more question.
you do?
Yep. Looks like Alexia just asked a question. Yep.
It's okay. It's just one of those like situations where it's like, I think I know the answer, but not entirely sure. So if we're running out of time, no worries.
Oh, it's fine. I think we have time. We have 4 minutes.
So
Parents currently going through a divorce. Divorce
That's
is
a pretty frequent one. Just we can separate and come out for this family and use the income where the student is residing predominantly.
Yeah, and also my understanding, Linda, is that on FAFSA you can mark separated as the parent's marital status. The student can't do that, but the parent can do it. So that when the student is inviting a parent, they may have to mark married, but once the parent is in the application, the parent can report that they're separated. And then, like Linda said, the school has to get involved. So that's a situation where the family completes FAFSA or CADA and also has to talk to the school.
Yep.
I don't see any questions in the chat. Thank you for catching that, Mark. And I don't see any more open in the Q&A, and I don't see any hands raised. So thank you all for attending our session. It was fun. It was fun planning it and getting this very knowledgeable panel together. And so thank you. And now I believe you go back to the main session for where are we at the closing part? But go back to the main session. And thank you all so much. And as we said, the plan is to get these slide decks out to you. So we will figure that out in-house. So everyone have a great rest of your day and enjoy the rest of our summit.